Life and Its Beginnings. By Omega Evan Jelly of E017. Early beliefs about the origin of life are the following. Spontaneous generation or abiogenesis is the idea that life could appear from non-living material. This idea was proposed by Aristotle in the 4th century and held its position as the belief on the origin of life until the 17th century. People from the past believed that flies could grow from cattle manure, mice from wheat stored in the dark, maggots from decaying meat, fish from the mud of previously dried lakes, or lice from sweat. As time went by, scientists questioned this belief and began to explore an opposing idea, biogenesis. Biogenesis is the belief that life originates from pre-existing life. Francesco Redi, 1626–1697, carried out a series of experiments on decaying meat and its ability to produce maggots spontaneously. Redi placed the meat in 3 containers. One was uncovered, a second was covered with paper, and the third was covered with fine gauze that would exclude flies. Flies laid their eggs on the uncovered meat and maggots developed. The other 2 pieces of meat did not produce maggots spontaneously. However, flies were attracted to the gauze-covered container and laid their eggs on the gauze. These eggs produced maggots. Thus the generation of maggots by decaying meat resulted from the presence of fly eggs, and meat did not spontaneously generate maggots, as previously believed. In 1748, the English priest John Needham, 1713–1781, reported the results of his experiments on spontaneous generation. Needham boiled mutton broth in flasks that he then tightly stoppered. Eventually, many of the flasks became cloudy and contained microorganisms. He thought organic matter contained a vital force that could confer the properties of life on the non-living matter. A few years later, the Italian priest and naturalist Lazzaro Spallanzani, 1729–1799, improved on Needham's experimental design by first sealing glass flasks that contained water and seeds. If the sealed flasks were placed in boiling water for about 45 minutes, no growth took place as long as the flasks remained sealed. He proposed that air carried germs to the culture medium but also commented that the external air might be required for growth of animals already in the medium. The supporters of spontaneous generation maintained that heating the air in sealed flasks destroyed its ability to support life. Pasteur first filtered air through cotton and found that objects resembling plant spores had been trapped. If a piece of the cotton was placed in sterile medium after air had been filtered through it, microbial growth occurred. Next he placed nutrient solutions in flasks, heated their necks in a flame, and drew them out into a variety of curves. The swan neck flasks that he produced in this way had necks open to the atmosphere. Pasteur then boiled the solutions for a few minutes and allowed them to cool. No growth took place even though the contents of the flasks were exposed to the air. Pasteur pointed out that growth did not occur because dust and germs had been trapped on the walls of the curved necks. If the necks were broken, growth commenced immediately. Pasteur had not only resolved the controversy by 1861 but also had shown how to keep solutions sterile. Current beliefs about the origin of life. Pasteur's and Redi's experiments indicated that living organisms cannot arise from non-living materials under the conditions that exist on Earth now, but their experiments did not prove that spontaneous generation never occurred. Eons ago, conditions on Earth and in the atmosphere above it were vastly different than they are today. Indeed, conditions similar to those found on primitive Earth may have existed or may exist now, on other bodies in our solar system and elsewhere. This has led scientists to ask whether life has originated on other bodies in space, as it did on Earth. First is the divine creation. The oldest hypothesis that life came from a divine being is the most widely accepted belief. It is believed that life forms and everything in the universe were created through a supernatural power rather than naturalistic means. The belief that life arose from nothing but the power of a divine being is called creationism. Creationists believe that everything was made by God in a 6-day period. 10 billion years after the Big Bang, our Earth was created as a molten ball of metal and stone thrown off by the Sun during the formation of the Solar System. Additional material was added to our planet as it collided with asteroids and meteors. Also, the land was barren and racked with volcanic eruptions that spewed noxious gases such as methane, CH4, and ammonia, New Hampshire 3, into the atmosphere. The air contained very little, if any, free oxygen. A planet with an atmosphere of methane and ammonia does not, at first glance, appear a likely candidate candidate for the origin of life. Modern cells need oxygen to breathe and require 4 kinds of organic molecules: amino acids, building blocks for proteins, nucleic acids, building blocks for DNA and RNA, fats, and sugars. This is a short list, but a long way from methane and ammonia. Nevertheless, in 1953, Harold Urey, a professor at the University of Chicago, and his grade 8 student, Stanley Miller, decided to test the hypothesis that Earth's ancient atmosphere, combined with fierce electric storms, was essential for the production of the molecules that cells need to live. Svante Arrhenius, a Swedish scientist, popularized the theory that life started outside of Earth and was brought from another planet. Panspermia theorizes that a meteor or cosmic dust brought considerable amounts of organic molecules to Earth, bringing off the evolution of life.